in this setting, Niger Delta, can the house actually be sustainable when completed, considering the economy, considering the environment, and considering the social issue, knowing that these three are the major issues in housing development for sustainability? So I just want to know, and if it is possible, how do you assist us to drive to achieving that as an architect in terms of your design? Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a brilliant question. And unfortunately, I might answer you in a way that might be very dramatic, and I'll tell you why. When these questions come up in our, circles, what happens is that we are looking at it from the world view of sustainability, which is not a bad thing. But I want us to narrow our focus to our communities. And you will not hear me suggest things like mud houses. You will not hear me suggest things like, things that our people may not readily accept. What you will hear me suggest is going back to the drawing board to discuss with our end users, to discuss with funding or sources of funding like the government, like partners internationally, and even some of these IOCs that we are crediting to some of the problems that have been created in the first place. Bringing us all to a table discussion that we will not only discuss, but we will implement some of the things that we have done. That's one. From doing that, we will be able to determine exactly what is sustainable.
Yeah.
Sustainable housing is not just a house that is cheap, because most times it would not be cheap. So is it possible? If you are looking at it from the point of the affordability of the residents in our community, especially in countries like Nigeria, where more than half of its residents live below the international poverty line, no, the answer is not affordable. So it's really ironic that we call it affordable housing when it's not. So the right word is social, or maybe not social, just housing. I don't know. I'm not that much of an academic. I'm a realist. And the reason is because housing is a primitive need for all human beings. And so we need to provide housing for people. And we want it to be affordable. But it should be affordable for the final user. But that doesn't mean it was free. So part of our solution might be finding a way to get people to pay the difference. So subsidized housing, perhaps. Now, to make it sustainable, that means it to be affordable. Affordable doesn't mean cheap. It only means it was subsidized. Then who pays the balance? We've removed the subsidies from fossil fuel, right? We are now moving to another sector of economy. We are looking beyond oil here. And this means that we can look towards infrastructure. Yeah. There's so much in that value chain that will benefit, from architects to engineers to the likes. So now we subsidize housing, for instance. And now in the process of subsidizing housing, we determine how the housing is procured, by making sure that they produce things that are used to develop these houses, to construct these buildings. I'm using this as an example, is locally sourced. Now, to determine locally sourced, it means that you will begin to fund the education sector. Because a lot of research and development has to go into finding the sources of these construction materials that is indeed sustainable for us. Nothing that is imported. Because some of the things that we determine is sustainability, if you go and then take the R&D from some international educational thing or some other Nigerian, even though the name is Nigerian and they've studied abroad, it wouldn't suffice, because then when you now begin to track its carbon footprint, it's now failing in that regard. So how truly sustainable is it?
True.
So we need to now begin to look at it in that way. So when we think about it from the very beginning, so many things will benefit from it. So I do believe I'm going in the direction of how we can solve it. There's really no yes and no. But yes, it will be. First thing I will say is that we subsidize it. And one of the ways to subsidize it is that the end users, the residents, they don't have to pay the full price because it's not cheap. However, in the long run, that cost will be accrued. So that benefit analysis will be done, and people will eventually benefit from it. So that first initial cost has to be subsidized in order to make it affordable. So I do hope I have been able to, show the direction in which I would have loved to answer. Thank you very much.